And welcome to the
recording in progress.
And welcome to the Town Pension and OPEB Trust Oversight Committee meeting. It is now 6:15, and if the clerk wouldn't mind calling roll call.
Thank you and good evening. Councilmember Risto.
Here.
Councilmember Hudes.
Here.
Councilmember Badami.
Here.
Vice Mayor Rennie. Mayor and Chair Sayak.
Here. And we do have a quorum, so we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. And the first item is consent. We have one item under consent, which are our minutes. And so are there any questions on the consent agenda? And would anyone from the public like to speak on consent? I'm sorry, on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I go back to the council and I look for a motion for approval. I'm sorry, Councilmember Badami. I've been out of practice.
No worries. I move to approve consent item number 1, the draft minutes of the March 30th, 2021 Town Pension OPEB Trust Oversight Committee meeting.
Okay. And actually, before I take a second, I see our Vice Mayor is with us. And Vice Mayor, we called to order. We'll have it shown that you are with us, and we have our consent with a motion from Councilmember Badami. And Councilmember Hudes?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, any questions or comments to the motion? Seeing none, Councilmember Hudes?
Aye.
Councilmember Risto?
Aye.
Councilmember Badami?
Aye.
Vice Mayor?
Aye.
I also vote aye, and consent passes unanimously. We now turn to verbal communications. Again, this is an opportunity for our public to speak. I see no hands raised, and so we move on to other business for the evening. And we are now at item number 2, which is our CalPERS preliminary investment return for fiscal year 2021. And I turn to staff.
Thank you, Mayor and Town Council. This item is primarily attached, not necessarily because of the good investment return. I mean, investment returns will fluctuate year to year. I mean, 21.3% obviously is a positive development. But more importantly, this is the first time CalPERS is actually putting into practice their risk mitigation policy. And because of the size of that investment return, it triggers them reducing the discount rate from 7% to 6.8%. That's significant for a couple of reasons. CalPERS changed chief investment officers, and there had been conversations that they may or may not maintain the risk mitigation strategy. And so from our perspective, it was encouraging to see that they did bank some of those oversized investment returns to buy down the discount rate. Eventually, buying down the discount rate will put them in a position to be subjected to less volatility, which means less fluctuations in our contribution rates and hopefully more stability. And I'm available for any questions.
Council members, any questions? Yes, Councilmember Hudes.
Thanks. I just wanted to ask whether the Finance Commission has reviewed or is going to review the items that the council is seeing, especially since to the degree that they are required or permitted under the ordinance that established the Finance Commission.
Thank you for the question. In consultation with the chair, all 3 of these items will be on their consent calendar at their meeting on August 9th.
And if I may, if they have comments or questions that should be addressed by the council, is there an opportunity for that to happen?
We could bring it back at the next scheduled pension and OPEB meeting. Usually we meet quarterly. If it was something where time was of the essence, staff would work to figure that out. On their upcoming agenda, we have been working to get things sequenced as best as possible. And so at their next meeting, they will actually be receiving the 4th quarter investment report prior to council, which is the sequencing that we've been trying to put in practice. And so little by little, we keep moving in that direction, but they will receive all of these items.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, this is a public item, and so I will open public comment to see if there's any comments on item number 2. I see no hands raised, so I'll close public comment and bring back to the council if there are any questions, comments. But ultimately, this is to receive. So I see none. So if we can, let's move to item number 3.
Thank you, Mayor and Town Council. So before you are the quarterly reports that we receive for our OPEB trust account. You have a quarterly report for account summary through March 31st, 2021. And then you also have what the returns are as of May 31st, 2021. They post returns on a monthly basis. So oftentimes the returns, if they're more current than the quarterly report, we will provide the more current returns. As of May 31st, the CERBT Strategy 1, which is the strategy that we are invested in for our OPEB funds, returned 1.25 net of fees for the month and 25.62% net of fees for the fiscal year. You can see from the previous report where CalPERS received a 21.3% return. CRBT1 has the largest equity exposure of the 3 that they offer. And so you can see that differential here with a slightly higher return than CalPERS. One of the interesting takeaways from staff's perspective is you'll see the ending account balance as of December 31st was 24 million. Back in 2019, when Bartel put together the actuarial valuation, they actually calculated that valuation that we were about 68% funded at about 18.3 million in assets. In that valuation, they gave a projection for 2022 of about 20.2 million in assets, which would bring us to roughly 71% funded. And they also provided a projection for 2021 with assumed assets to be 21.9 million and at approximately 73% funding. So you can see these returns have put us in a position where when we do get our next valuation in 2021, given whatever the market performance is, we're clearly ahead of the projections from 2019. And with that, I'm available for any questions.
Any questions on this item? Seeing none, I will open this item for public comment. I see no hands raised. We'll close public comment and come back to the council. Again, any questions or comments? Seeing none, we can move to the next agenda item.
Thank you, Mayor and Town Council. This final item is kind of a closeout administrative item. Previously, we had been invested in the CEPTT Section 115 Trust, which is provided by CalPERS. However, through previous council action, we've been doing additional discretionary payments to CalPERS. And when we did our last additional discretionary payment to pay a portion of the June 30th, 2013 gain loss amortization base, we expended the remaining funds in the account. And so there are currently no funds in the account. There is no cost to the town to maintain the fund, and we do maintain the fund, but there are currently 0 assets in it. And I'm available for any questions.
Any questions? Seeing none, again, this is public. I see no hands raised for public comment. Bring this back and no final comments or thoughts. And so, Mr. Andrews, with that, I'm going to thank you for your time. It looks like we have covered all the items that are on today's agenda for the OPEB oversight meeting. And I will adjourn this meeting and see everyone at 7 o'clock. Thank you all.